He came through the door, just banged the door right open, and from the moment he approached the adults first and he walked towards me and started shooting, and it never stopped for the next 3 minutes. 3.5 minutes of carnage.
He was carrying 743 rounds of ammunition. School had a roll of about 700 pupils, so there was enough ammunition there to kill every single person in that school.
By the time I got to ground, the bullets would have been 3 feet above me, coming in through the windows.
She just said, I don't know how many bodies I've identified, and I couldn't believe what I'd heard. I just thought, she said bodies, and I'm thinking, you know, how many?
On the 13th of March 1996, a man walked into the gym of Dunblane Primary School and shot dead 16 children and their teacher. 11 other children and 3 teachers survived horrific injuries. In 4 minutes, Dunblane had changed forever. Nestling in the shadow of the Highlands, a short commute from Glasgow and Edinburgh, Dunblane has always prided itself on being prosperous, safe and law-abiding.
Away from the cities, lots of fresh air, lots of activities for the children to do that were safe.
It's just a normal town where folk go about their business without anything major happening most days. It's a church orientated in many ways. We have quite a number of churches. They're mainly all well attended. It keeps the community together.
The town's main school, one of the largest in central Scotland, touches the lives of most of the community one way or another.
We had 2 children that time, and we didn't think we wanted to bring them up in London. And we felt, you know, Dunblane, the school was nearby and seemed to be lots going on for kids.
We needed a bigger house to live in, and Dunblane was a very convenient place for us to move to. We knew other families here, and the schools had a good reputation.
Who would have chosen a place like Dunblane for such a dreadful thing to happen? Nobody in their wildest dreams would have thought that anything like that would have happened in a place like Dunblane.
Wednesday the 13th of March was to be a day of unimaginable tragedy, a day that would be remembered with horror all over the world. Eileen Harold taught PE at 9 schools in central Scotland. That day she was scheduled to work at Dunblane Primary, the school she'd chosen for her own 2 younger children.
It's been very helpful that in the past 10 years there's not really been a morning like that morning, because it was snowing that morning in March. And it was a case of clearing the car before I got the children off to school, because I took them to school. And the 2 older boys were dropped at the high school. Jennifer and Jack came with me to the primary school. One of them always carried my bag into the gym for me, and then off they went to their own classes.
With Mothering Sunday just a few days away, it was going to be a busy week for Irene Flaws, the town's florist and Sunday school teacher.
You're sort of preparing, thinking what do we need from the market tomorrow, etc. You know, making sure you've got enough of everything in the shop for that week. Not an inkling of anything out of the ordinary. Life was just going on. Folk were walking to work, walking to school, the high school kids were walking up the road. Just a normal day.
Since his wife Barbara had died of cancer 2 years earlier, Mick North had been bringing up their 5-year-old daughter alone.
We would have woken up sometime between 7 and 7:30, got dressed. Sophie needed a plaster. I think one of the cats must have just scratched her the day before. Went downstairs, had breakfast. I then drove up the road to the school and dropped her off at Kids Club, where she went every day before school and stayed after school. She was standing on the far side of the room at Kids Club, just standing there saying goodbye to me. And that's stayed in my mind all the time.
We had 3 children at school. I had volunteered to help in the nursery, and March 13th was my second morning helping.
I had primary ones coming in, and I could hear them in the assembly singing away their hymns as I prepared, because there was a big class. They were a particularly beautiful class, actually. They were gorgeous children. They were lots of different individuals, so they weren't, I wouldn't say they were a particularly easy class. You know, they knew what they wanted to do, and they had strong wills, and they were very bright, intelligent, alert, enthusiastic, and put all that mix into the melting pot, and you've got quite a handful of children.
At some point they would have changed into their gym clothes before going to assembly. From assembly they went straight into the gym at 9:30.
And the first 5 little ones ran into the gym full of beans, shouting, "Ah, great, you know, there's lots of nice things." But, you know, it's very important that safety was the first. Ironically, safety is the first thing that you teach them. So they were frog marched out again and made to line up with the rest of them and told that they had to wait until I told them to come in.
Nobody is entirely clear which route he used, but it was probably through a side door. He then went to the assembly hall, where the assembly had finished 5 minutes before, and 1 shot was fired. He then moved round to the gym, which was next door to the assembly hall, entered the gym, and immediately started firing, first at the adults and then at the children.
The 13th of March 1996, an unremarkable morning in Dunblane, central Scotland. At Dunblane Primary, the first of the day's lessons was beginning.
The large building with the windows and doors facing us was the assembly hall at the time, and that's where the primary 1, 2 and 3 assembly would have taken place. Just up from that, where there is now no building connected to it, was the gym at the time.
It was a few minutes after 9:30. A class of excited 5- and 6-year-olds was starting a session in the gym.
So we'd just started the warm-up, and that's when it happened. Literally, I would say about 5 minutes into the lesson. I was quite near the door, and he came through the door, a glass door, just banged the door right open, and from the moment he approached the adults first, and he walked towards me and started shooting.
He was Thomas Hamilton, a discredited scout leader, harbouring a grudge against a town that no longer let him teach at its boys' clubs.
My initial reaction was to put my arms up, which is what I did. That's why I was shot through the arms. From then on in, it was rapid fire shooting and killing instantly. Because after he turned from me, he turned to Gwen, who was sitting at a bench at the back of the gym, and then the other adult, who was a teacher helper, was also shot, and then he targeted the children at very close range.